Hello, this is Tim Lowe with Playing It Forward Coaching, always encouraging self-reliance, always going the extra mile, as well as developing a marketable skill, people skills, and other variety of good communication skills. If you do that, you'll be amazed at what you can accomplish in this country. A big thank you to over 600 people that subscribe to this channel, Playing It Forward Coaching. If you haven't already, please do so. I'd super appreciate it. I got a really neat lady that I've literally just met. She's with the Pennsylvania Trucking Association, Rebecca Oyler. Rebecca, tell us a little bit about yourself, and I got some good questions to follow up with you on. Welcome.
Okay. Well, it's great to meet you, Tim. I'm happy to be with you today to talk about the Pennsylvania Motor Truck Association. I'm the president and CEO here at PMTA, and I've been here about 2 years. We are the state trucking association. We represent about 1,200 members here in the state, but we
Wow.
do represent the trucking industry here in Pennsylvania, which is about 65,000 trucking companies here in the Commonwealth.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, very impressive. And Rebecca, tell us about, your journey to get there. We talked about a little bit off camera there where you said you didn't necessarily realize that, you would come into this direction, this industry, and tell us a little bit about that.
Not at all. I did not expect to be in this industry, but I'm really happy to have ended up here. So I grew up in a small business and my family's small business in Chambersburg, Pennsylvania.
Mhm.
And we owned a gift shop. My mom was an artist. My grandfather was a cabinet maker. And just grew up right in the middle of downtown in my family's small business. And I kind of feel like I came back home to that here eventually. But in the meantime, I actually went off to school and studied international relations and ended up getting a master's degree in national security studies.
Okay.
So my major in that area was weapons of mass destruction. So that's always that's always a fun story when people ask you, tell us something we don't know about yourself.
Yeah.
So biological, chemical, and nuclear warfare was my specialty. So in any case, I ended up coming back to Pennsylvania, and not being a lot of career options in nuclear, chemical, or biological warfare here in the mid-state in Pennsylvania. I ended up going into the policy area, which is okay because once you have some expertise in how to study policy and how to advocate on policy, it doesn't matter whether it's international policy or national security policy, or it's domestic policy or state policy. So I ended up going into the policy area, working in economic development, eventually elections, business registration, corporations, and professional licensing, things like that. But eventually, I made my way into the private sector, and I worked for the National Federation of Independent Business.
Mhm.
And that's where I kind of got my came back to the small business area. And I fell in love with working in the association world for small businesses. I feel like when you work for the small guy, you're wearing the white hat when you're advocating for helping small businesses out. And as you may know, most trucking companies actually are small businesses. The
Mhm.
vast majority of them actually are small businesses. So when I had the opportunity to make the move over here to PMTA, I was really excited to take that opportunity 2 years ago because the trucking industry, of course, at the time was just coming out of the pandemic. It
Mhm.
was everyone appreciated our truckers out on the road and the ability of our trucking industry to support the entire economy and keep our supply chain running through the entire pandemic. And I really appreciated the opportunity to come on board here and represent them. So that's how I got here. It's kind of a winding road, but happy to be here.
Well, you've obviously got the skill set, mindset, and everything, Rebecca, to be able to deal with this unique industry here. Now, as far as the Pennsylvania Motor Truck Association and everything, what is it? What are some of the things about it that you like the most? Obviously, besides helping some of the small businesses.
Well, I mean, that's the biggest thing is I really believe that from a association standpoint, we represent the businesses who are our members. And from a larger standpoint, the trucking industry generally, businesses out there in the community don't have time every day to keep up with all the latest regulations, all the latest laws that are being passed or debated in the legislatures, or everything that's happening in the Capitol in Harrisburg, or in DC for that matter. And I really believe it's our job to make sure that we're tracking what's going on in those capitals and making sure that we keep our members informed of the things that they really need to know about. So that's one thing. Is I kind of feel like we're an extension of each of our members. We're there to represent them and make sure that they have a voice in those very important policy debates that are going on. So there's that aspect of it, but we also pride ourselves in being safety is the most important aspect of what we do here at PMTA. And it's the one thing that unites everybody in the trucking industry. So we all care about keeping our roads safe and our truckers safe on the road and every one of the motoring public safe. So safety is one of the top things that we deal with. You don't have to be a member of PMTA to benefit from the safety, as education and information that we provide, because we believe it's important for everyone to, be a part of that. So that's very important. And we also provide a lot of networking opportunities as well for everyone in the industry. Now that said, I'm sure we'll get more into this. One of the things that we do is provide public education about the trucking industry. We think we are uniquely positioned as the State Trucking Association to educate folks about trucking and the trucking industry. And one of the things that we try to do is educate young people about opportunities in the trucking industry, career opportunities. We don't want them to lose sight of the fact that there are a lot of great careers in our industry.
Sure. Well, and we've got a mutual contact and friend here with Chad Forry, who's doing some amazing things at Northeastern High School here in Manchester, PA. And I know you and I have talked about him a little bit already. So how about if you share a little bit of your perspective as far as what you believe Chad is doing as far as assisting this great industry.
Sure. So Chad is the only, as far as we're aware, the only driver's ed teacher, the only high school in the state that has actually set up a CDL program in the high school in Northeastern High School in York County. And we're really, really proud to be a part of that effort. PMTA has chapters that we support across the state, and our York chapter supported that effort for him to be able to purchase the simulator back in 2020. So he has a truck driving simulator and is able to graduate students from his CDL class, which is amazing to have students graduate directly from high school and be able to get their CDL right away and be career ready. And that is just it's an amazing story, a success story, and one that we'd love to replicate, in other schools across the state.
Sure, absolutely. Well, my understanding is he is one of only two in the whole country, the other one being in a high school out in California, which is absolutely amazing when you consider, I think there's like 8,000 high schools or something in the country. There's a huge number. And, he's doing some great work. And, I've gotten to know him for the last several years, and the kids that he has in there that are doing it, I know a number of them, and they're doing extremely well also.
It's fantastic. And I know he just recently was able to raise funds to purchase a forklift simulator as well. So
yes,
also exciting because the area that Northeastern is located in is a really big area for warehousing and distribution. So that's what we really love to see, is the schools being very responsive to the job and workforce needs in their regions. That's a great best practice that we'd love, like I said, to replicate in other areas. And we're happy to help high schools think about how they might be able to do that.
Sure. Well, we've got a great York Technical School down here in York County, and they're part of a consortium of about 14 different schools. And to me, it certainly makes sense, from your perspective, to approach some of those tech schools that have a good number there to put, possibly look into getting one of those simulators, where they're not inexpensive. I mean, it's like
No.
$120,000, but it's launching these kids out there into five figure incomes right out of high school. It's amazing.
That's right, exactly. And one thing I'll mention is that PMTA has a committee called the Next Gen Committee, and that's one of the things that this committee is focused on, is trying to, educate young people about opportunities, give them pathways into the industry. And they are actually working right now on an outreach, a sort of pilot program, where they are working with, I know there was some outreach to Cumberland Perry Votech. And the idea is to actually bring trucking companies together to be involved in this outreach, so that we bring the companies together, take them into the schools with some of our experienced drivers who are trained in how to talk to students about opportunities that are available, and make sure that we're working together with the resources that are in the communities.
Sure, sure. No, that's wonderful. Rebecca, I know your time is tight. Any last second thoughts here? And can you hang for a minute or so once we're finished?
Sure. No, I'll just say, you hit the nail on the head when you said that students can come out of high school with a great, well-paying career option. And I don't want to lose sight of the fact that I'll say there are 325,000 transportation jobs in Pennsylvania right now,
Wow,
and a
wow.
quarter of them are drivers.
Hmm.
So about 81,000 drivers in Pennsylvania. So we do have a lot of driver jobs out there. We know there's a driver shortage. And over the road drivers, it's like you said, it's a great career option. You can make a lot of money right out of the gate. The average salary across the country for over the road truck drivers in their first year. Now, I'll note that you can't currently drive a truck across state lines until you're 21.
Hmm.
We also are working on trying to get that changed at the federal level. But in your first year, if you get onto that career path and stick with it so that you become an over-the-road truck driver by the time you're 21, you can make $71,000 on average
Sure.
in your first year at that.
Yeah.
And I don't want to lose sight too of the fact that there are many other career options in the field. A diesel technician, there's lots of opportunities for that, and local and technical schools. $86,000 a year is the
Wow.
average salary of a diesel technician. So these are great career options that do not require four-year degrees. So I just want to make sure that people are aware that you don't have to go to a four-year college to make a great living and have a great career in the transportation industry.
Sure, sure. And I've said this on a number of the different interviews I've done. As far as if obviously there's certain careers you have to have college for. I get that, but
Sure.
I just feel there's way too many students that really come out with questionable degrees and a lot of debt. In the meantime, you can
Yeah.
be making a good five figures pretty much right away versus going five figures or more in debt, almost every year with some of these
Right.
questionable degrees. So I think that's something strategically that young people and their parents really have to be aware of.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right about that. And that also, we're talking about the transportation industry. There's also a couple of things that are appealing, I think, as well, and that is technology in the
Hmm.
industry is really in a emerging place right now. We're looking at various forms of autonomous trucking. The safety technology that's available now is just crazy, and it's going to get even better. In the future, and eventually we're going to be looking at electric vehicles as well. So
Hmm.
technology is an emerging field. There's a lot of opportunities available for folks who want to get involved in that area as well. And then the other thing I'll mention about trucking is there's a lot of flexibility involved.
Hmm.
Um, Freight movement is going to grow in the coming years, not decline. It's absolutely going to grow. So there's still going to be jobs in years and years and years ahead. And there's going to be a lot of flexibility. So anybody who, chooses to drive, they might want to do it, over the road. They might want to do a regional driving, a job, or they might want to just do local driving. So there's a lot of flexibility that you can change over the course of your career. So there's a lot of assets involved, not just the pay, to going into these types of careers. So I just want to emphasize that as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, very well said. Rebecca, this has been great. Can you hang for just a bit here when we get finished?
Sure.
Great. Well, thank you so much. This was wonderful.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.